That investigation is crazy. It's 21 pages. It's written as a math professor would write it, but it's, it's generally intelligible to the average person. Let's put the link in the description. I want everybody to go and read it because systematically, just skewer. And what I realized too is I'm like, there's no way this is the only place doing it. I bet you Harvard does it. I bet you all of them do, right?
I guarantee it. I mean, because here's the thing. It's not really correct to say that the list is meaningless because the list isn't really about like whatever the supposed underlying metrics are. The lists are about the level of prestige conferred to the graduates.
Exactly.
And so it becomes self-fulfilling. If you are rated number 1, number 2, number 3, whatever on the list, then yeah, just by merit of you being on that list, whether you deserved it by the underlying metrics or not, the school is getting something out of it. And the kids who graduate are able to say, oh, I went to this school. And it shows you how hollow the way we've come to think about higher education really is, where it's like this elite rating game rather than any sort of actual real commitment to learning, knowledge, education, being, better, like whatever. I mean, it's actually a deep question. What is education for? And I don't want to start a big debate about that right now, but certainly I don't think anyone would say that the ideal education is just about getting like a rubber stamp, you are qualified to be an elite. That's not the ideal system that I think most people would want.
The point is, and I get this criticism, it's like you only talk about the elite institutions, they're just at the bleeding edge. That's why I put UCLA up there. UCLA is a state school. Why are they blasting out this #1 rating? Because they also print money off of out-of-state tuition. A huge portion of their student body is from out of state, to which they're charging like 50 grand a year.
I went to University of Virginia, and it's, very competitive in these rankings and very fixated on these rankings as well. And even over, I don't even know what tuition there is there right now, but even over the course of the time that I was there, and graduated in 2003, the escalation in out-of-state tuition in particular, year over year, was insane.
In-state tuition is 19 grand a year, which, by the way, is still
a lot more than when I was there.
For people who are Virginia, out-of-state is $53,000
for a public university. A public university. Yeah. So I mean, it really is. It is grotesque, and I do think that the manipulation of the rankings, it gets at some deeper questions here of like, what is an education actually supposed to be about? We used to cover that. I can't remember who does that list of like the best schools for working class students.
Oh yeah, CCNY is still the #1.
Yeah, and so City College of New York, is what top school in terms of if you're a working class person being able to sort of like ascend and get a good job coming out of college. It seems to me that with proper oversight, those sorts of ratings are much more useful because you're getting something specific out of it. No single metric could possibly like really assess the entirety of an institution and what the student experience is, et cetera. But if you have specific goals, if you have something specific in mind when you're going to college or going to university, I want to get a job in this type of field, I want to be a specialist in that type of field, I want to have this type of experience. Having those more specific but transparent and, again, proper oversight ranking seems to me a lot more useful than this just like blanket list of like, here's our schools where you can become an elite. Go Tiger Moms and get your kids in there.
Yeah, it's terrible all the way through. I agree that CCNY data was important just for people's transparency. What it was is that if you're working class and you go there, you have a much higher wage premium relative to everywhere else. Also, it factors in price. So
it's like a good value for your dollars in terms of what you get out of it in terms of a decent job.
A lot of these universities, like SUNY is also one, CCNY is probably the best. Many regional colleges, again, you have to use it to a specific end. You're using it for a certification, nursing school, all these other things, like very specific programs and degrees. It's a way that we should evaluate on whether they are actually doing their job or not, instead of faking the stats.
Yeah, and we can't just can't just trust the schools to hand over accurate data.
That was the other thing. 80% from the schools. That's nuts. I mean, you wouldn't trust that from anything else.
No.
For something that you're going to make possibly a $250,000 investment in.
Huge incentives for them to cook the books.
Yeah, it's like you're buying a car every year whenever you're.
And then what's the penalty, even if you get caught? Like for Columbia, it's embarrassing for them.
Oh, they're fine.
But yeah, it was worth it for them to keep their ranking, whatever. What was it, number 2?
Number 2,
it was definitely worth it for them. And they would do it all over again. On balance, it worked out for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.